Hey, you there? Whoa, whoa, I see you.
Do you hear me, though?
I do. I hear you. Hell's bells.
All right.
Let's do it. All right. Cool. Hopefully I can edit out the 5 minutes of me just sitting there like an idiot, but go on.
That's a pretty goofy, is that one of those things?
This right here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my son's stash.
Stash, yeah.
I want to, hold on. Is there that or I'm Batman?
Yeah.
All right. So, all right, man, we're live. Let's do this. So, ladies and gentlemen, here, I'm hopefully going to cut and sit like an idiot this whole time. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Shark Tank After Party. It's myself, TJ Hale, host of the Shark Tank podcast, and none other than handsome Rob Merlino of the Shark Tank blog. How are you, Rob?
I'm doing wonderful. It was a great show tonight. If I can give myself props, I called it. I called every one of them.
Wait. Hold on. What do you mean you called? You sound like my wife. Every time anything happens, she's like, I called it. I knew that was
it was in writing as of Wednesday. I pretty much was on point with what was going to happen. Go with Bebo. I said it's a Lori product, but Ashton Kutcher might join her, so I think she's going to get a deal with both of them. What happened?
From my notes here, it looks like she got to deal with both of them.
Yep. Yeah, he did. He.
So when you called it, some of the posts are kind of like fortune telling, right? Like they're going to be interested, they're not going to be interested. So what constitutes calling it?
I said Lori's going to invest and Ashton Kutcher is going to come in. I think Bebo gets a deal with two sharks. I mean, it's not fortune telling. I don't know if the show's getting too contrived or if I'm getting too good at it, but it is what it is. You know, sometimes I'm 0 for 4. You know, so when I'm, I'm just like one of those gambling touters. When I'm right, I'm going to be like going nuts.
You had everything up by Wednesday of this week. And for those people, hopefully everyone's read your blog before. You've got content on every single person who's ever been on the show. But let's talk about the new season. Season 7, started out with Ashton Kutcher, always borrowing Damon and Barbara's chair. That's the norm. But what's some reactions from this season so far based on one episode?
Well, it'd be interesting to see if Ashton was a one-off. You know, they've got the other two guys coming up in the next 2 episodes. They've got guest sharks. So I don't know if that's going to be a one-off for each of them or if they're going to come back a couple of times and they're going to shuffle it up. I just don't know. I think he was, I hope he doesn't ruin the Shark Tank like he ruined 3.5 Men. But I think he was pretty good, for what he was. I think he also probably brings a new audience too.
So I think it's 2.5. 3.5 is when Charlie Sheen tried to sneak back onto the set, which immediately got escorted out with Tiger Blood. But in fairness to him, no, I won't go there. What about Dude, Where's My Car? You think he ruined that one? I thought he brought a lot of artistic talent and depth to that movie.
What? To which you blinked out? To what?
Dude, Where's My Car? And to Demi Moore's Married Life. I thought he brought a lot to both of those.
Well, I don't know that he invested as much in those, but I've never actually seen Dude, Where's My Car? I remember Demi Moore when she was a teenager back in General Hospital. I'm probably dating myself, but and she did not show her boobs in Blame It on Rio, where the other actress did. So that's neither here nor there.
A little before my time. I remember the first memory I have of Demi Moore was watching Saturday Night Live when Adam Sandler would do the skit where her name was Denise, right? And he would say, "This is the part of the show where I dial 5 numbers because I don't have the strength to dial the last 2." And then he would call her and hang up on her. And like, she was a heartthrob. That was kind of in the Ghost era. And Ashton Kutcher's got to be about my age. So when I found out he married her, I'm thinking, it's kind of like marrying your aunt, right? She's a little too old, a little too out of reach, but what are you going to do?
Well, he's a lot younger than the other sharks, so I think he might appeal to that younger audience, and you can't knock him, knock him for his acting ability, but you can't knock him for his investing acumen lately. I mean, he's invested in some winners. He's doing well. I mean, he's got the VC company. he certainly is a credible shark, even if he is a goof. Whether you think whatever you think about him as an actor. I think as an investor, he's proven his mettle. He's no Mark Cuban, but he could be someday. You never know.
Right. No, I'm teasing him a little bit, but I thought he was really good on the show. I'm really excited about Chris Sacco. I know a lot about him. He was on Tim Ferriss's podcast recently, which is really good. I'll link to that in the show notes if you don't know much about Chris. He's basically the best there is right now. I mean, anything that's made money in tech, his name is on it. So
oh yeah.
Got the clip of him basically kind of spitting game on Lori a little bit. So that should be interesting. Speaking of spitting game on Lori, where he's like, you just want to ride my coattails. You know what I bring to the table. I mean, he's the real deal. So it should be interesting to see some of the other ones squirm. Tonight, Lori got a bit of gruff. I feel like there was a little bit of a contrived war on women tonight where Lori was getting it from both of the Canadians, Robert and Kevin. But real quick, before we start, there's a couple of things I want to talk about. One, Robert's suit. On my podcast with Barbara, we talked about Robert dressing like halfway between a Metro and the Joker. And she really like, but she was laughing like, I can't say that's funny because he might find out about it, but she knows. I mean,
and we're hung up.
What do I have here? Some just overview things. And the personal transportation is exploding. I want to talk about that when we get to the rocket skates because that's something I thought was a little odd. Like, I live in Phoenix, right? So you don't see people roller skating with batteries glued to their skates in summertime. It just doesn't happen. So let's play this. Let's do this.
What is that?
You can't really hear it, huh? Because I can't turn my speaker up. That's Kevin going, let's do this. Let's talk about Bebo. You a fan of the product or no? Did you order 5 of them after the show aired?
I did not. No, my youngest is 10, so I'm well past the bottle feeding age. But I did say in my post about Bebo that when my 4 older children were young, I think at one point we actually had maybe 3 bottle feeding at once. So I could see the need for it. If you're trying to balance 2 kids at once. At one point, Mark put the second Bebo on Ashton Kutcher's chest and said, when you have twins. That could actually be, for people with twins or people with 2 bottle feeders, I could definitely see the need for it. I think for one, if you want to bottle feed your infant so you can, take a selfie, that's a little narcissistic. Maybe for reading a book. It's just been so long for me from that time in my life that I don't know if I can relate, but I can guarantee you this. Someone would have bought one of those for a baby shower. Okay? Somebody would have bought one because somebody always wants to have that thing. So, we probably would have ended up with one in our house.
Yeah, I could see that. We didn't bottle feed. My wife is just a freaking Viking when it came to breastfeeding, so we didn't need bottles really, which I think is rare, but maybe she's old school. When it came to the product itself, I thought it was a great idea. I could definitely see people buying like Octomom. I could see her trying to strap 8 of those things all over her body. That was fantastic. Cost was $10.86. The retail was $40. So I agree with the Sharks. They're going to have to get the cost down a little bit. And I think the retail price, I turned to my wife and said, what do you think? She's like, it's a $25 product for me. $25, maybe 30. And
yeah.
Kevin said, I like Booby better. And I'm going to cut that clip and play it on my podcast. So there.
Well, you're not going to get it into Bye Bye Baby with Booby.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's a product. Yeah, at $40, maybe not, but yeah, 25 or 30. But I still think people would buy it. I have 4 daughters and I have 1 brother. So my mother, when I started pumping, my wife started pumping girls out, just went really nuts buying stuff. And she would buy something like that. For a guy, I'm not going to go out and buy a bottle feeding accessory. But grandma is, my wife's friends are at the baby shower. I've seen it so many times that I just know we would have ended up with one. So I think they'll do okay. I mean, is the guy going to be the next ScrubDaddy? Probably not, but he can be Boob Daddy.
The boob. Yeah, That's really good. He, I think he got out of the game. What was it? 20,000 in products sold since February 2015. Thought that was pretty good. I think if he gets retail, he's probably going to do pretty well if they hit the market. The one question that came up was the packaging. There was some dissing on him regarding the packaging, and I tended to agree. I think he'll probably end up changing it. The clamshell looked all right, but it didn't really pop, in my opinion. Your thoughts?
Well, that's what Lori does, though. Lori, gets that stuff. I don't know if you've been into Bed Bath & Beyond and seen all the Shark Tank stuff. It's there, and then the packaging looks, inviting enough that you want to buy it. I mean, I buy ScrubDaddies all the time, and the other stuff is in there too. So she'll figure that out. And then she brought in Ashton supposedly for the marketing side of it. But it's funny. It's fun to talk about that. 20 minutes after the show is over, but that it could never happen too for the guy. It could just be for show.
Yeah, I thought she was like, I'm gonna get Ashton. We're gonna be buds. We're gonna do a deal together. Me and Ashton, we're tight because, he's only there for one show. Is he coming back? Do you know? They get him for more than one episode?
That's the question I was asking, because they have these 3 guest sharks this year. They went with the 2 sharks a year ago, and they just had, it was one appearance by John Paul DeJoria and Steve Tisch. And then last year, did Woodman do 2?
Woodman did 2 episodes.
Right.
He was in the finale, but he was only there. I talked to Mindy. She said he was only there for half a day.
Right.
So
and
they're in and out.
Yeah. So I don't know. It'll be interesting
to
see. I think bringing some new blood in, spices it up a bit, as long as they, are a good personality. I think Kutcher was sort of kind of like his goofy self, but still trying to be sharky. And I think if you got some serious tech companies in there, you'd see him and Cuban go at it a little bit, which could be interesting.
Right.
But it didn't happen tonight, so it was a booby thing. And then the only real tech thing that was in there, he bowed out. So what are you going to do?
Speaking of, let's move forward to number 2. Acton, not action. Acton, rocket skin. Thoughts?
I'd probably kill myself on the things. He does have some global reach. He got a lot of money in seed funding. I hope he doesn't just pee it away. And Lori made the comment that, I don't think you're really here to do a deal. He came across, and again, it could be the edit, but he came across like he really didn't know the numbers good enough. And Mark even said that's why he went out. So whether he goes on to, real success or not, I mean, they had something similar on there a couple years ago, the solo wheel. They had the scooter last year, the 3-wheel, the tilting one. Right. Acton also makes a scooter, which did not make it into the show, did it?
The 3, are you talking about the Shark Sway? The one that was on with Shark Wheels? I can't remember the name of it.
That was last year. Yeah. No, but Acton makes a 3-wheeled scooter too, and I don't think it made it to air. It was in some of the promo photos, but I don't think it got even mentioned.
The M scooter?
Yeah. It looks like a clunky version of the Sway. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of these things out there. Damon's involved with a motorized skateboard company that was incubated at Babson. There's a lot of those things out there. It's a question of, what do you want to tool around on? I guess you really have to try it, but something like that, I'd probably break my neck.
So my thoughts on it are, they mentioned during this one, I think it was Ashley's like, look, there is a transportation revolution, or what was the exact word you used? The personal transportation market's exploding. Well, yeah, you got electric skateboards, you got electric roller skates, you got Segways, but I'm sorry, I don't know if that, I mean, I compete with Uber? I'm like, no, not at all. Like, first of all, I said I live in Phoenix. If you don't live in San Francisco or New York, where are you going to use these things unless you're on a date night? You're not going to travel. Like, I'm in Phoenix in the metro area, and I still got to go at least 2 miles anywhere I go. So if I got to carry groceries or my gear with me, like, I'm not riding roller skates with wheels. Second of all, when I was watching it, I feel like, as cool as it is, it's kind of like this electric car thing that Tesla's reinstated, right? Like, gasoline engines are still the deal. but roller skates were super cool in the 80s. Like every single movie you watch in New York when it was like back in the watch Superman, watch Ghostbusters, watch Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Somebody's dancing on roller skates. Like somebody's got skates on, he knows what he's doing. They got this dude on there doing the exact same thing. He's doing like the roller skate boogaloo boogie, except they got batteries on him. For me, it's nothing new under the sun. It's the exact same thing. It's just cooler. It's more fun, and it goes faster, which I do like. I would like a pair, but long-term, like the longevity, if this guy's already raised 2 series, I don't know what the seed round was, but I know it was $2.5 million in Series A. Sharks are right. They're never going to get their money out of this unless he hits a home run. And even then, there's competitors for this stuff all over the place. I mean, you look just at the personal transportation with the powered skateboards, and there's something that escapes my mind. I'm still looking for a drone. Like I want a drone with a lawn chair on it. That's what I'm waiting for.
I think the FAA would have something to say about that, but
of course, I mean, when Amazon figures out how to get past the FAA, we're going to see drones with lawn chairs. So Acton, work on that.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it either, really. There's a lot of choices, and like you said, you know, you live in a spread out area. A scooter might make more sense for you in Phoenix, right? For me, now in Florida, I want my air-conditioned car, thanks.
Yeah, scooters are great when you're in Vegas on the Strip and you don't have kids, which I'm past that phase. We did it in Waikiki one time. It was awesome. Scooters are amazing. But like I said, if you're not living in New York or Frisco, or if you're making a Lexus commercial where you've got a working hoverboard that requires a custom $1 million track and nitro, what's the frozen stuff from Terminator? Come on, give me a hand here. What freezes your nitrogen, like to freeze the superconductors or whatever they're called? That's like way off in the distance. So I looked at this segment and thought it's cool product, cool idea, already a lot of sunk cost into this thing. If I'm an investor, like as a customer, if one of my rich buddies gets a pair, I'll ride them. But until they're, you know, $200 just to go 6 miles and then have to find a place to plug them in, it's not going to happen.
Well, the other thing is that when the Segway came out, they said it was going to revolutionize personal transportation, and guess what? It didn't.
Was that from Kickstarter?
No, when the Segway first came out.
Oh, do you think that's with the founder dying on one though? Because that always kind of puts a wrench in the plans.
What was that?
Do you think it has anything to do with the founder dying on one? Because that always, like, I'm not just a customer; I'm the president also. Whoa, I'm dead.
Well, I mean, if you get hit by a bus, you get hit by a bus. It doesn't matter what you're riding.
He fell down a hill on like the new off-road ones with the knobby tires. But one other thing about this deal, like you probably don't watch Bachelor because you look like an educated older gentleman. But Bachelor. But let me tell you a little story. When I was younger, I had a friend of mine from the Phoenix Suns where I worked. She was a cheerleader. She was on the show. So everybody at the Phoenix Suns, every game, they were going up to her. They were talking to her. She made it to the final 2, and then she got left at the altar. So that's all we ever did was talk about Bachelor. So I got sucked into watching the show that season. Then I knew someone like 2 seasons later, and probably 5 or 6 seasons of my life, I watched a lot of these episodes. And the one thing they talk about is you have to go on the show for the right reasons. Your heart has to be open to love. All these other cliches that are hilarious. So I watched Shark Tank, and the guy's like, I came here for a deal. And Lori's like, I'm not so sure you came here for a deal. And Mark says, you know what? I think you did come here for a deal. I'm going to go with you on that. I'm like, am I watching The Bachelor? We've officially entered reality TV zone when now you have to be on the show for the right reasons. Like The Bachelor started it and Shark Tank has jumped on. Is that going to be a problem this season?
Well, I don't know. I think it may have always been an issue. I mean, Mark has used the term gold diggers before. You know, he's said that to people in the past. I think you're a gold digger. I know for a fact I've been told by people they only went on the show for publicity. I'm not going to mention any names, but I mean it happens. And if the Sharks sniff that out, they crucify him. They've done it plenty of times in the past. So Mark kind of came to his defense. If I don't know if they're going to make it.
But they're voting. They're taking a poll on air about whether or not they're there for the right reasons. That's new. That's what I'm talking about. Like they're going to come on and be like, all in favor? Yay. All against? Yay. And we're going to be like, oh, sorry, you didn't come here for the right reasons. You're out of here. But I think the guy read my ebook, The Ultimate Guide to Getting on Shark Tank, because I tell people if you're going to go on there, let them know you're going on there to get a deal. if you're this guy and you're like smoking weed and you don't know how much you've got invested in your company, but you still want a deal, you got a good shot. That's my.
Wow. In the new book, if we're plugging books now, in the new book, Shark Bites, by Scott Jordan, for which I wrote the foreword, the closing line I say is that, remember, it's reality television, which is 90% television and 10% reality. I don't know if that was true for your Bachelor. I'm sure it is, to a point. I mean, it's edited, it's contrived. People go on for different reasons. They want to get a deal. They want that publicity, whatever it is. Because just getting on the show is enough to give your business a boost. The book, it goes both ways too. I mean, the Sharks do things on air and they make deals and never do anything. I mean, Robert, like, how many deals has he closed? 3 in 7 seasons? I mean, it's ridiculous.
People who are watching this may not know that, but in season 6, I've got it on good authority, 1 deal all season.
Yeah. So, you know, are the Sharks there for the right reasons? I mean, is that a question people should be asking?
Talk about on the podcast. Everyone there gets publicity. There's a lot of people who listen to my show who don't actually know what the Sharks did before. And that's they get publicity whether they do deals or not. And so that's why I'm saying it like in a jovial manner. But if they're going to start telling everyone on air whether or not they're on the show for the right reasons, it's going to be like watching the 4th hour of The Bachelor every week because their shows.
Yeah. Well, I think you'll have.
It's all.
I'm sorry. I think you'll have all of the. Maybe that's just another drama point. You know, like the train wreck, the crying person, the heartfelt story of want and woe, and I have lost my home. Maybe it's just another drama point. We'll see.
Yeah.
If it becomes too much, people will get sick of it. Just like Kevin's royalties last year.
It's like Chris Rock says, if it ain't new, it's through. And by the way, I said that Mr. Treadway, Peter, was high, which I don't know, and I'm joking. But this is part of the reason when I started my show, I was going to do recaps on my podcast. But then I learned really quickly not to say anything bad about someone on Shark Tank because you have no idea what actually happened there and what the editors. Right. So no offense. It's about that's just how I roll. And really, for people who don't listen to my podcast, literally, there's one story in particular where a guy came home thinking he had the best segment ever aired on Shark Tank, and he said the day it aired was the worst day of his life. So take everything with a grain of salt.
Well, San Francisco is near Humboldt County, so.
So stuff you're not going to hear anywhere else here on the Shark Tank after party. Okay, so but would I ride them? Abso-friggin-lutely, I would ride them because they look like a lot of fun. They did a cool update for Barbara's team. So Barbara got in tonight, but not Damon, which I thought was extremely racist. I'm sorry. I mean, everything it is. I'm teasing. Scratch and Grain and Pipcorn got an update. Barbara's at the New York Food Expo for foods that have been invested on by Shark Tank, I think, was the sub-tier of that. That was kind of cool. Are they the ones where they had the bags of food that they sent to you and you mixed them yourself? Kind of like
the cookies. Yeah, the pre-made cookies and cakes and things. Yeah, from last year. Both of them were from last year.
I didn't have them on the podcast. Did you interview them?
Scratch and Grain, no, neither them nor Pipcorn. We did talk about one of them. I did talk to Barbara about one of them last year when I spoke with her. I think it might have been Scratch and Grain, but she mentioned that when she does these food companies, her first one was the Daisy Cakes years ago, and now she's kind of got a system and a team, and this is one of the things that she does is she can get out there and she brings a crowd. Crowds love Barbara, okay? And if you're at a trade show, I wouldn't want to be next to that booth, okay? Because Barbara Corcoran and everyone's going to stop by. I mean, it's the Shark Tank effect. O'Leary said it on your show. He said, it gives you access to a lot of things that you wouldn't otherwise have access to. That's what the benefit of doing a deal and closing a deal with a shark is. He said that on your show. He said it in plenty of other places, but I think I first heard it on your show, and that's one of the benefits. What's that?
It's a nice plug. I'll link to the interview of Kevin O'Leary, Mr. Wonderful, on my podcast. And Barbara, Loves crowds. Loves them. By the way, I would put my booth next to Barbara's because I would, there's the photo bomb. I'd be product bombing. Like they're all talking. You see me in the back, like
Yeah.
just all day long. Hey, I'm here too. Check out the booth next door. It's great.
Well, she's a very magnetic personality. I went to a real estate event with her, and the people just, she's like a rock star. They all want to touch her. So like Jesus, sorry for offend any religious people, but they all want to go up and touch her and be near her and stuff. So it's probably a good thing to have her at your booth.
Touching Barbara. No, the visuals. Okay, so
I kissed her.
You did. I don't have a still of that. I'll have to post it. You and Kevin have both. Well, you got her on the cheek, right? I think Kevin actually got her on the lips.
Oh, I got it on the lips. She said I was a better kisser than Kevin.
What? Oh man! All right. Well, that's so maybe. What are you gonna do next time you interview? You're gonna try to scale it up and go big, or are you just gonna keep it casual?
Her husband was there too, so.
He's like, yeah. You've seen. I'm thinking of the show. Take her, sucker. I think that was King of the Hill. All right. Hey, Hank, can I dance with your wife? McClary brothers. So funny story. There's always one that's kind of like, it's a gluten-free or it's a health product. Hey, we're pro-vegan. And those are the ones usually where I get up and I get something to drink because I eat junk food. I love sugar. I mean, I don't take care of myself at all. So I'm just not as inspired by those, although I think they're wonderful and I don't want to offend people who are, much like the Jesus comment. However, funny story with this one. They're doing the ciders. I thought it was Jim Beam. Like I thought it was a Jim Beam knockoff. They're talking about how great her labeling is. I'm like, yeah, because it looks like the good stuff, right? So when Mark Cuban said, my wife drinks apple cider vinegar, I about died. And it's because my wife's sitting next to me. I'm like, oh no. And guess what? Dun, dun, dun. For the last like 4 weeks, she's been trying to get me to drink the stuff every freaking day. And it's in her lap as we're sitting there watching this. I'm like, I feel for Mark Cuban because I've been there. I'm living it, right?
It's good for barbecue.
So what? This is if you. Well, yeah, but no, she's drinking it out of the bottle, man. And this thing's only like a week old. Look at that. I mean, I would have. It looks like she spilled half of it, but she actually drank it on purpose. So she was very.
I marinate ribs in that stuff, with brown sugar and molasses, and I don't know if I'd drink it.
You ever accidentally drink it and then tell people it makes you feel amazing for the rest of the day? Because that's what I'm living with right now.
Yeah. Maybe I'll give it a try.
Well, after they drink the cider one, they showed like all three of the male sharks go, ooh, like dry heave. And I laughed. I'm like, I'm right there. I get it. And Mark actually went out because he says he doesn't like to drink the stuff.
Well, she's billing it as a mixer for cocktails in a big way. And if you look at her site, there's a lot of bars and restaurants really all over the country. She's got actually some decent market penetration. I think she's in about 300 to 400 venues. So bartenders, she was actually talking about that on the show, the craft cocktails. It's just, it's a new thing. People, the hipsters, they go into a bar, I'll have that basil, strawberry vinegar with Jim Beam thing, and it's, I get it. I married a bartender, so I get it. But it's just not my thing. I'm a martini and Guinness guy. Okay. That's about it. A small repertoire for me. Yeah. Apple cider. Woo. I'm like you. It's one of those things. Yeah. I'm sure there's an audience, but ugh.
I'm just not in it. Cheers.
Sorry, Jess.
Yeah. So one of the things that was funny is Kevin kind of gave her the Mr. Wonderful podcast with Kevin. I had a fan hit me on Twitter. He's like, oh, I love Kevin O'Leary. Can't wait to listen. And then he followed up and said, oh, I liked it a lot. And when I listened to it, so there's this guy named Mark Marone. Sorry, my stories are all over the place, but he has a podcast called WTF. Have you ever heard of that before, Rob?
No, I have not.
Old guy from Air America that when they burned out, he started doing like an Adam Carolla type podcast. And he had Obama on his podcast a few weeks ago. Why he was there, I don't know. But he had Bryan Cranston on his show. And I was at an event listening to him speak. And he goes, the one thing about interviewing Bryan Cranston is he gets on the show. Did you watch Breaking Bad, first of all, as a disclaimer?
No.
Okay. Well, for the people who did, everyone who was into Breaking Bad got crazy into it. Like that was all they did probably for 3 years.
I have some friends who are, yeah. So
okay. It's like the Lost People, but not quite as annoying, in my opinion. He said after the interview, he goes, I really, really, really wanted to have Walter White on my show. unfortunately, Bryan Cranston showed up, and to a degree, and I think it was because Kevin had been drinking all weekend promoting his wine on QVC and was probably still burning it off. But it was like 6 in the morning my time, maybe 8 in the morning his time, and I feel like I got a lot of Kevin and only a little bit of Mr. Wonderful, and I love Mr. Wonderful. So if I have him on again, I'm gonna like wind him up a little bit and jab him and get him to say some really obnoxious things that he'll regret later. So just letting everybody know who listens to it. But he was still great, still great.
He does collect. He collects vinegars too. He collects vinegars and olive oils. I mean, so that was just. I predicted she wasn't going to get a deal, but if she did get a deal, it was going to be Mr. Wonderful. So I was sort of half right on that one. So maybe I'm 3.5 out of 4. But I get the product. I understand what she's trying to do. It looks like she's building a market for it. It's just one of those ones that's just not for me.
Yeah,
I wouldn't buy it.
This is actually the notes I wrote for this because he talked about creating a category. And I'd say building awareness. Like if your product requires a wristband that people have to wear to know you exist, I mean, Susan G. Komen has that market cornered, and they've been around since the early 80s. It takes a long time to do that. So his quote was, pioneers, you're a pioneer. And what do pioneers get?
They get shot in the gut with arrows or something like that. Yeah.
It was in the back. And he said only 4 guys and a dog are drinking this stuff. And then Ashton Kutcher came to her defense.
Right.
Whittling her, that's not nice. Don't do that. And he goes, you're not going to give her a check though, are you? And he went, well, it's great. And it's good packaging and it's extraordinary. And you've got so much ahead of you. But yeah, for these reasons, I'm out. And they showed Kevin going,
yeah.
Right. And I think that she's already got 305,000 in sales in 3 years. There's obviously something there. But if it's niche to bartenders, it's probably going to be a good little business that it's going to be difficult to go nationwide. And in full disclosure, I'm not an alcohol drinker. So it's another one of those where I'm just kind of going off other people's opinions as far as the product goes. Is this something like when you heard the apple cider and bourbon, is that something you would rush out and want to taste, or does that not interest you at all?
Did you see Robert chug his drink?
I did.
I mean, he gunned it down. He gunned it. He looked like a frat boy gunning down his drink there. I mean, it was.
But he's got like the 2015 Staying Alive version of a suit on. He's going on TV every day. He's got a new girlfriend. Like I just zone right now. Like I expected him to just like do the marathon bath with it.
Yeah, and even Mark said there's not enough gin.
Yeah, that still was funny. Mark didn't say that much tonight. Honestly, he was kind of a bystander.
Yeah, I wonder what's up with him.
What do you mean?
I don't know. He can't stay on this show forever.
You think he'll be the first one to like do the Michael Scott and walk off the set?
Well, I don't know, but I mean, maybe this is what all these guest sharks are about: is that someone's leaving. Maybe Damon's leaving. I don't know. Damon's conspicuously absent the first 3 episodes. He's not on.
Well, I was talking to Damon's chief digital officer. He's a friend of mine, and he was telling me that if he was to come on and do one of these, he's just got to look at the schedule and figure out when Damon's going to be on the show. And I went, what do you mean by that? And then I started thinking, most of these shows that have judges, they rotate. I mean, American Idol gets 2 out of 3. The Voice has had a couple switcheroos in the female chair. We've actually had a pretty good run on Shark Tank. So you might have something. You might be onto something. And I'm sure tonight Damon was thinking, wait a minute, if Mark's going to be mute the whole time, like, let me just do it from home via Skype or something.
Yeah. Well, I had an exchange with a woman on Twitter tonight. I was live tweeting for the East Coast show, and she tweeted a picture of a Christmas tree, and she said, oh, Shark Tank season 7 with Damon is like Christmas morning. And I tweeted back to her, I was like, there ain't no Santa Claus and there ain't no Damon tonight. He's not on. I got back all these sad faces and stuff. And then she followed me. But so yeah, who knows? Who knows? Maybe that's what these new guys are about is the schedules. Because the one thing is what the show has done, it's created for the Sharks that go through with these deals and support these entrepreneurs. It's really created another business channel for them. And I'm sure that takes them, takes some of their energy and attention away from other parts of their lives. And maybe the actual show is one of those things,
It's weird. I mean, it questions like when is enough for them of what they're doing. But, Damon got left off in season 4 for the first time, I think. And I remember he tweeted during the show, hey, wish I could be there. Someone's like, Damon, where are you? Where are you? And he's getting Twitter bombed. He said, had another engagement. And I'm thinking, what did you schedule that was more important than Shark Tank? I mean, I'm all for, good manners and being well behaved, but I just don't buy it unless you had a family emergency like you're at Shark Tank. So
they filmed them in July.
Right.
Well, he was tweeting tonight. He was out there tonight.
Yeah, I mean, you want to be on the set. So for him to be gone for 3 episodes, it's pretty brutal. Interesting.
The other thing is that some of these could be, and you don't really know until you talk to people. Usually there's a couple that are in the can from last year. They've done that in the past. So who knows? I don't know. I like the fact that they're bringing in new blood.
I do too. Absolutely. I think, honestly, between you and I and everyone else on YouTube is listening, I have chats a lot of times about whether or not it's Robert that's going to go, strictly because of his deal activity, but also now, I mean, he's, like you said, I mean, he's in heat, man. He's all over the place. So we'll see. We'll see.
Chicks dig him.
I dig him. Who was I talking to the other day that was on my podcast? No, it wasn't you, because it was someone who was on the set. I know we've talked about this, but the guy's like, so you get there and you've got the lights and you've got all these people staring at you and you've got like Robert, this amazing looking human being looking at you with his piercing blue eyes. And I'm like, you're a dude, man. Are you serious? He's like, no, he is like the best looking human being I've ever seen. I couldn't focus. I'm like, I think you just passed the gay aptitude test, but that's okay. I'm not judging. I think you just got to stay focused on product while you're in there. He's like, no, I'm not. I'm serious. You see the man, you're like, okay, he's an attractive man. It was really, really funny because I thought it was awkward and he didn't even flinch. So
all the women I've talked to that have been on the show, that they all say, "Oh my God, Robert's eyes!" So he might just have to stay just for the for that demographic. So
we should just have him walk down the aisle at the beginning of the walk-off set, a Robert cameo. So the last one on here was Signal Vault. They closed the first show out with Signal Vault. That was 12. That's on the Signal Vault. Are you gonna run and get one?
He's a great story. If you did a little research on him beforehand, he went out and said, "I started the business for $1." He had the idea, he just didn't have the money. He was working for a nonprofit at the time that his dad ran. So I mean, he couldn't have been making big bank, but he had the idea and he had the knowledge for the product, and he just didn't have the $8,000 it took to make that first run of these cards. And then he hit the lottery. And what did he win? He won just enough to do that. So it's kind of a cool story. He was very active in social media all week. We interacted quite a bit via Facebook and Twitter this week. And again, I was on point on this one. I said, you'll probably have multiple shark interests, but Lori is going to see it for what it is, a consumer product that everyone needs, because we all have credit cards, or most people do. So you could be a victim of that. I know we've had our stuff compromised in the past, but our bank's pretty good about nipping it in the bud. But everybody needs the thing. It's $10. Would you rather spend $10 or spend 20 hours on the phone with your bank trying to undo fraudulent charges that some scammer got? It happens to people a lot. And what do you say, 80 billion in fraud? That's a big number. So for $10, I think he'll sell a lot of them. And he was tweeting after the East Coast run, because Lori was on with him on her show right after the East Coast show selling the stuff. They sold out in like 5 minutes. I mean, I don't watch QVC, but
because Dr. Roland was on tonight, and
yes, I know.
It must have been Chris. I'm gonna put Dr. Roland down. I'll put him in the show notes. His story is really cool. Did you listen to that podcast with Dr. Roland?
I did not, but I know Dr. Roland. He's written for my site, and we've talked and stuff. And he's actually from Springfield, not too far where I used to live before I went to the Sunshine State. He did everything Lori would have told him to do if he were on the tank. He tested it, got all the FDA approval, everything you need for a health-related product. So he did it right, and he ended up landing a shark without him being on the show. Yeah. Speaking of Lori, does she look hotter this year to you, or what?
You know what? Yes. Yeah. That's all. Keep going.
I thought she looked pretty good tonight. I mean, she's not she's an attractive woman to begin with, but there was just something else going on tonight. Yeah, she's looking hotter.
Allowed to talk about this? I mean, it's the year 2015. I don't think you're allowed to talk about women this way. Are we gonna get in trouble for this?
It's the internet.
That's true. Good point. All right, let's do it. Two things.
No, but let's get back to Signal Ball. He sold out.
Oh, wait, Barbara wasn't there, so Lori was the only option. Do you think there was any selection bias because she's the only person on stage? I don't know. I mean, except for Robert, who's.
I was looking at the pictures she was posting on Twitter and stuff like that too, and yeah, she was looking good. She was looking good.
Hold on, I have a theory. I mean, I have friends in Hollywood a couple of them done pretty well. One of them is one of the lead guys on Castle. Another one did a lot of miniseries stuff. One of them was part of the fappening, if you know what that is, where girls did naughty things on their cameras. And the point of that, and why I brought this up, is that every single person I know who went to Hollywood at some point crossed that threshold where they like blended in LA. They became really skinny. They got good looking. Their face shrunk and like became more angular. Do you think Robert's obviously there? Do you think Lori's starting to, has she become an LA person now? Like, is she totally focused on this being the brand? I'm just speculating, spitballing.
I think maybe she got a better haircut and lost a few pounds. I don't know, but she was looking good.
Okay. Yeah. Oh yeah. I would have time to go on this. I have friends who like never would have expected them to make it in Hollywood, and now they do, but they don't look the same anymore. They're totally different. So. All right, so here's my thing. One, I don't need Signal Vault because my wife and I keep our cards maxed out, so I don't think we're the right market for this. What do you think?
You remember Rodney Dangerfield?
Of course, yeah.
Okay, I got one for you. This is a Rodney Dangerfield joke for the 21st century. Hey, I get no respect at all. I had my identity stolen. They returned it.
I can watch Back to School on a loop all day long. I love that.
No, it's something everyone needs. It is. And someone made actually a good point on social media tonight. They tweeted out to Signal Vault, why not just embed this chip, this blocking chip, into the credit cards?
Well, I was wondering that myself. Would it disable it triggers when it gets a signal. If it's in the chip, would it block the technology with the new like chip and pin? I'm going to sound smarter than I really am here, but it would interfere with the way the card's intended to work if both chips were installed. And that I don't know. Maybe yes.
Well, wouldn't it interfere if it was sitting right next to it in the wallet? Although you do take the card out to swipe it and stuff. But that if he could do that, if he could license that to credit card companies, the guy's a gazillionaire.
I should call him and get to know him better and see if I can get on this before it goes. Yeah, no, it sounds really feasible. I'm sure that he was limited by capital and his own reach, but that problem should be going away now. So maybe you're onto something. Maybe that's the next step.
Well, it wasn't me. It was actually someone tweeted to him, and a tweet that I was tagged in or whatever, and said, why not embed this right into the card? Because he said it was activated by the scanner. The chip was activated by the RFID. I don't even know what it means. That's what powered it up. So I don't know because that would be a ubiquitous technology, to use my favorite word.
Yeah, and I'm saying technology, also my favorite word. I still love technology.
No, ubiquitous.
Oh, okay. So he invested $1 in the company, won $8,000 playing the lottery, which Mark astutely observed is probably not the best strategy for people to get seed money for their business. But he also said that the U.S. accounts for half of all credit card fraud. And I thought, well, yeah, duh. It's not like there's 3 billion people on the planet that don't have credit cards yet. But it's an emerging market for the possibilities. My favorite line from this segment was Kevin O'Leary, "You have to pay more for me. I'm sorry."
Yeah.
It was awesome. But he didn't pay more for him. He chose Lori.
Yeah.
And then Lori saying, "What are you doing? You shouldn't even be talking to me." They were trying to talk Lori off her pony. That was pretty interesting. And then he asked Ashton Kutcher to come in on his deal, and Ashton said, "Look, you got a lot of work. You got a competitor with most of the market share. I'm out. Mark Cuban, you're selling to consumers. You want to go into enterprise, very different business. I don't think you're ready for what that entails. I'm out." And again, Mark was kind of quiet when I expected him to jump in. So you think this is going to be a winner?
Well, I think it already was. 5 minutes into QVC, again, I don't know how many units he sold, but I think they got to go in there. Something at that price point, 10,000 units. If he bangs that out, I mean, that's $100,000 right there in 5 minutes. The guy was doing pretty decent business beforehand for basically a shoestring startup. So
75 cents a piece, selling for $14.
Yeah. I think, didn't they go down to, they might have gone down to 10 for QVC, but yeah.
Because if someone else starts selling, they could sell them for $5 and still make a ton of money. So
Right. And the thing he said is his doesn't require an outside power source, which gives it, an advantage. And the other thing about him is he got lucky twice, okay? He won the lottery, okay? And then he launched the company right when the Target data breach was going on. Remember when Target had the big data breach? And he got found by a lot of news organizations and was just a talking head expert on credit card fraud during that thing. And that was a big news story when it happened. And the Home Depot one too. So he got a lot of free publicity because somebody hacked Target. And really, that doesn't have much to do with his business. But again, it's one of those right place, right time kind of things. So the guy really was lucky twice. And, things come in threes. You got to deal with Lori, and he's probably on his way to making some good coin. I think that business is definitely a winner.
Well, I talk to my clients about like their long-term longevity and feasibility of their business. Timing is just that thing that you can't always count on. I mean, you made a perfect example with Target. LastPass got hacked. Sony supposedly got hacked. We found out it was and kind of the item du jour right now, right? Is the people are just getting hacked and they need protection from it. So I think that's fantastic. I kind of felt the same way about McCleary Brothers when she was talking about her vinegars. I thought my mom got really into these fad diets. I mean, they've been around forever, right? But she didn't try Atkins, which is too bad because that's the one I liked, where you eat steak and eggs 3 times a day. But she got into kale. She's into seafood. She was into paleo. And I'm looking at this crap that my wife buys and brings home. And these paleo guys are making hundreds of millions of dollars a year. And paleo is this fad that's going to come and go. Like me, I'm a Cenozoic diet guy. I eat the stuff of this era, like In-N-Out and Red Lobster. They're eating stuff from 3 million years ago. I think eventually we're going to evolve past that and everyone else will be sticking to my diet. But I totally agree with you. The point is that the timing is so important, and that is the last thing that fails or passes or flunks a lot of entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and it's like in sports, you can't coach height. You can't plan for timing like something like that to happen. You can't say, well, I'm going to start my business. There's going to be a massive data breach, and I'm going to be all over television. You just can't do it. So the guy got lucky. He got lucky twice. It's a good product, and I'm very happy for him. And I think he's gonna make a lot of money. I think he's gonna do very well with it.
Well, Rob Merlino, you're a scholar and a gentleman. You've been a fine guest today. And so you've got the book, Shark Bites, which is out today, actually. People should go check it out.
It's not my book, if I can give it a quick plug. It's not my book. It was written by Scott Jordan, and there are at least 24 entrepreneurs who are in the tank that kind of peel back the onion, if you will, and you get to see a little bit of the dark side of what happens after a deal is done or not done or pretended to be done. And it's not all the happy shiny stories that you see on Beyond the Tank or in these updates. It's kind of a good look behind the scenes, and I read it today. It's a good read. It's the best forward in literary history.
Yes.
And I was honored to be considered to be a part of it. And if you're a fan of the show and you really want to know what goes on behind the scenes from the people who know, the people who are there, whose non-disclosure agreements have expired, this is the book for you. Interesting. It's $2.99 on Kindle. The paperback version is going to be out in a few days or maybe a week or two. All the proceeds go to the Hunger Foundation. So no one's making any money off this. It's just a good other side of the story behind the tank. And Scott Jordan put it together, and it's a good read.
When I first met you, we talked about who's going to write the book, the tell-all. And it was you in the running. There was Scott Jordan. There was Shelley. Ealer, and maybe a couple others. But I'm sure everyone who was in the running is in the book now, right?
They're all there, and there a lot of I think all but 2 or 3 of the people that are in the book I've spoken to, so the stories are familiar to me. I think it's probably better that it was someone who was on the show ran with it. You know, if I was to write it, I could be considered to be, I don't know, an asshole, to use, for lack of a better term. So I think it was good that somebody who was involved with the show kind of got behind it and made it happen. Again, I was honored to be part of it and give my perspective on it. But it, we talk about it all the time. People who watch the show think that that's what's actually happening, like right now, live, and it's not. And they think that what they see in the updates is real. I'm sure they went to the food show tonight. Okay, I believe that they were there. I'm sure it was good for their business. But when when someone writes a check on television and hands it to you and then tells you don't cash it, that's another story, especially when they do an update in Disneyland. So, it's those kind of stories that are there. And you and I know that stuff, but the general public does not. And if you're interested in that side of the tank, the dark side, give the book a read. $3 for Kindle. The paperback's going to be, $7 or $8, not be big money. Good read, goes to charity. Shark Bites.
Awesome. Well, everyone listening, make sure you go to Shark Tank blog. Say hello to Rob. You can follow him on Twitter at
Shark Tank blog.
Shark Tank blog.
With an R at the end, yeah.
All right. And make sure to subscribe to our channel. We'll be doing hangouts, after parties every single Friday. And Rob, I hope to have you back on as well for another episode. If you're up for it, if you had a good time. And it's way past your bedtime, though. He's in Florida. Taking one for the...
I got to be up for it, right?
All right, man. It's been a lot of fun. Hopefully, and have fun out there. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, TJ. Thank you. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.
Are we off?